Hey, Chevy RC. I'm a little bit late getting this thing started. I had to get my dinner in, so I like to eat. Tom, how are you doing? I hope you're racing your car because I heard they had test and tune yesterday or last weekend. Tommy Cook. Hey, happy Snowfish. I don't know who you are, but howdy to you too. If you have questions, go ahead and ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. Hey, Ed's Machine. Ride Talk. I'm probably doing it wrong. Ride Tech. By the way, I've been trying to get off sugar, and I'm dying of thirst. And I think quitting cigarettes is tough. That's what someone said. I don't smoke. I never have. But I'm telling you, you try not doing sugar, and I know people are like, it's no big deal. It is to me. I am addicted to sugar. So like this RC Cola has been like staring at me, and I'm not joking. Just sounds really great. Is that like an alcoholic? David B. I bought only Dyno books, and I'm considered a customer. Yes, you are. Doug Thacker, what's up? I got your heads that came in the other day. I'm still way behind on getting them done, though. Quitting sugar is way harder. I would agree. Are my heads that I ordered 2 days ago done yet? Yeah, I'm sure that they are. Soda rot your gizzard out. Good to see you, Eric, man. I'm just freeballing right here because I don't have any questions yet, but I've just been grinding. My back's like killing me because I was grounding for like 6 straight hours. But you got to do what you got to do. Big block Chevy heads, by the way. Some Brodix 3 extra 327s. RC, I got one valve margin cut. What does do for flow? Is it worth it? And I think you talked about it once. I'm confused by your question. I don't really cut down the margin, otherwise you'd be shrinking the diameter of the valve. A couple things though. I'm gonna try to run the Dunsworth tomorrow because I got to drop off parts. And I've been grinding heavily on a set of the Promax Big Block 317 heads as well because I'm gonna switch those over. And I actually, by a weird coincidence, I ordered a cam from for a customer. I ordered a cam from Bobby, the guy that won the cam challenge, and he said he had 2 big block Chevy intakes, and both of them are ones I want to test. And they are the Sniper 2 and the new Hulk big block manifold, which if you watched my video 2 weeks ago, I had a customer that tested it, but now I can test it on my mule. And he said, yeah, you're free to use it. So as soon as I get done importing these Pro Maxes, I'm going to throw those on the 540 again. We'll see what it does. Hopefully we get close to 1,000. Then we'll do some intake testing. Let's get too fast. When will it be possible to enter a small block cam challenge or big block head challenge? Here's the thing with that, Andrew. Andrew Hunter asked that. I made a huge mistake, and I'm going to go ahead and admit it. My big mistake with the small block Ford cam challenge was the engine wasn't done. So I was planned for a competition and had nothing. That was stupid. So I thought all the pieces would be here by now and I'd be able to get everything done. It looks this way. The cams are due May 1st for the small block Ford. And then we're going to compete thereafter. But on the Chevy one, I am not going to even do any drawing or entering until the engine's done. Now, I had planned for the Chevy way before the Ford, so I thought, I'm going to be ahead of the game. Well, I'm just going to tell you more than you probably want to know. I reached out to Scat and I said, hey, can you give me a crank with the big block snout, rods, and since they're with Race Tech, the pistons. Now, this was in December for PRI. And I figured, they said, we got the crank in stock. They told me this. We have the crank in stock. It won't be long. So this is December. So about January, I hit them up like, how's everything going? Nothing. February, so last month, a few weeks ago, well, I guess 3 weeks ago. Hey, where's the rotating assembly? It's been a while. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. January, February, March. So 3 months now. And they said the crank has to be nitrided. Now, if you've ever dealt with parts manufacturers, this thing will frustrate you to no end. when you ask them, hey, where is it at? And they tell you something. So before they told me, by the way, I should point out, I checked one time in January, and they said they're waiting on pistons. So when they did it the second time, now I'm waiting on the crank, but the crank was already done. Like the only thing you're waiting on before was pistons. So I was a little frustrated. So now I've reached out to Callie's. I don't know. I'm so frustrated too because Summit was nice enough to donate the cover I needed for the big block snout, the balancer for the big block snout. No, they didn't do the balancer, I don't think, or maybe they did. Yeah, they did the balancer and the timing chain, and I can't get it the thing. So I'm half tempted to say if I've got to buy it, I'm just going to buy a regular 4340. It's probably going to be fine anyway because after what that blow up small block Chevy did, it'll be fine. Point I'm trying to make is that engine will be together before and dynoed at least once before I make a decision on let's get the camshaft entries in and all that. I'm not doing like this. That was a mistake. The big block one, there's a chance what I might do is because I'm getting ready to pull that engine out of the Camaro, which is a 565, and it's got the two dominators, and they made 1,061 or something on Dunsmore dyno. I could always do one with that. It's kind of a pain in the rear because of the two carburetors, but that's there. I don't know. That's later on. Let me get the rest of your questions. Happy Snowfish question: will better flowing cylinder heads do much for an otherwise stock engine? 350 factory 4 rotor leads, 4-valve pistons, mild cam in this case. Potentially, because the stock heads, depending on which ones you have, I should point out, suck. So, especially on the Fords, I had some people like, you should get some GT40Ps. You Ford guys, those heads are awful. Any aftermarket head, even the Pro Cop beats it. So in that case, it would be worth it. Question. This is from Nutty68 Chevelle. Question for you: what RPM size of valve do you switch to titanium? It's not size, well, sort of. Usually, when a customer is going over 7,500 RPM, titanium. Try to. Doesn't always happen because it's expensive. If it's like a spread port big block head, always titanium because the valve is so friggin' long. So you do a steel one, man, they're heavy. So that's typically the rule I go with. Oops. This is from Salvia. Some head porters say exhaust flow doesn't matter. That's false, but volume does. If so, how do you calculate the volume, and do you measure the velocity that it should be, speaking normally aspirated? I measure on volume only because I keep it in the books that I sell to customers, like for the viewers on YouTube, and it's because it's data. At some point, it's going to be worth something. If the port flows more on here on the bench, it doesn't always equate to more power. So I should say it's not entirely true, but one of the tests I had done was I ported just the exhaust ports on a set of heads, and that picked it up, and it shouldn't have. So I don't check velocity. To me, it's totally pointless on the flow bench for exhaust because the speeds that the running engine is, because of the heat and everything, it's not even in. This thing is not even close. So I just shape them the way I have, the percent on the throat the way I want it, and just run it, which isn't necessarily what everybody else does. Eric McMahon. Eric, if I port a direct injection heads, what air velocity should I shoot for average short side on the intake? I have never ported a direct injected head, so I feel like I'd be leading you wrong. Although there's an LT head that's been sitting here that a viewer brought for like 2 years, and I still haven't even floated it. So bad on me. Jason Matthews. I have some older track ones. What kind of power have you gotten out of them? Worth investing head job if I already have them. Same question on some Trick Flow Gen X 205 LS heads. I have no experience with that LS head, that Trick Flow one. So I can't answer on that as far as the good. The older track ones, it's funny you mentioned that because the customer just sent me one in to freshen up. So this is a surface, do a valve job, new valves, springs, retainers, that sort of thing. Someone had done some pour work. I wouldn't say it was great, but it flowed like 305. It wasn't bad. I think he said he ran 660s with it in the 8th, which isn't bad in A. So I think they're okay. I don't know if they're worth doing. I mean, it's really how much a person has to spend. It's a kind of a loaded question because that's $1,400 for a full port job. But I don't know. It ends up expensive regardless, no matter what you do anymore. Chevy RC the angle of the valve margin, don't know how to explain without picture. There, the angle of the valve margin should be 90. You're talking about the angle of the seat. That's a different thing. David B. Oh, fat fingers. If I buy heads months away, can I bring some stock self-ported heads, have them flowed, arrange pickup, maybe to do this on a day trip since I'm driving from Texas? Yes, you can. Just let me know beforehand. I think you'd asked about if you could come down and watch a dyno session. I think you texted me or emailed me when I was at that swim meet, so I didn't get back to you because also I know it sounds weird for my viewers, but usually if there's a little bit of a gap in time, I'll try to see if Dunsworth has time to dyno something, and I try to dyno. So it's usually like almost the week before slightly, so it's really quick. The only thing that could be on the dyno right now would be that 477. I have worked all week and still have yet to get that 408 forward on the engine stand. They were Vortec heads. I have to go back to your question. I don't, Happy Snowfish. Those are worth porting. Fig 57, howdy to you too. Doug Thacker, do you have a recommendation for an E85 car builder? Man, I almost hate that. Don't get me wrong on this, but sometimes you can recommend someone and they've been perfect on your stuff, and then they suck on other people's, and that's the truth. And now, and I'm going to tell you this too, and I hate to say this, but because I got more famous with the YouTube, and I don't even think I'm famous, but people seem to think I am. That I think sometimes they give me better products than they give others. But I'd say this, I really like ATM. I truly do. Their carburetors on my son's Nova, and I've used them when I dynoed at Bob McVeigh. I like those guys, and I like the company. So, and they're American owned. They're not owned by private equity. So if you're not looking for, and I think they even do custom carbs, they're probably the quicker turnaround too. But also, I dealt with Mark Whitener, and he's fine, but he has a full-time job, so it might take you longer. So that's my thing. But I do like ATM, and no, they're not paying me to say it. Okay. Ken Knoll, evening to you too, buddy. Custom 4x4 specialty. Would you go about porting a cylinder head differently, knowing that the intake manifold is going to kill 30 to 40 CFM? No. And here's what I mean. Usually you size the head for everything that the RPM is going to turn. You might adjust a little tweaking if the manifold's bad or something, but in general, no. It still follows the same principles. That's my take anyway. The intake, depending on what intake you run, almost always kills 20 or 30 CFM anyway. It doesn't matter. And then for those that, here's a marketing bull that people will say. I got XYZ single plane manifold to flow 100% of what the head does, or 98% of what the head does. That's a lie. I've yet to ever see it on my flow bench. Not one time. Not mine, not nobody's. The only thing that does that's tunnel lamps. Anyway, Kevin Clancy, could you use antique oil sealed in an old school metal can for Gen 1 small block? See a lot of house clean out finds. Thank you. I would try it because I'm into trying dumb things on the dyno. I don't think it'd be do anything. I think if anything, and I don't even know if this would be a question for man, my mind's drawing a blank. The guy with the glasses, the old guy. It'll come to me later. But anyway, you could ask him if those additives follow suspension, but part of me says no. So I don't even know that make a difference. Robert McVeigh, what up? Fly down for a weekend, Uncle Bob? Oh, I don't know why it says Robert McVeigh. Yes, I want to fly up there for a weekend. Yes, I want to get out of here. What are you, nuts? Yeah, I'd be happy to get out of here. I'm not knocking this place. It's great, but he's done with swimming. He's finished a short course swimming. So now, matter of fact, he ain't got to do no swim practices for like a week or more. So yeah, I'm freed up now. I just got to figure out how to pay for all this stuff he's got it coming up. Oh, crap. My fingers are fat, and I'm sorry if I skip over your questions. I'm not trying to. Mike Frame, Brodix IK 180 versus AFR Enforcer 350 flat top 10 to 1. Oh my God. You know what's great about your question? Mike Frame. So from time to time, you might see me with Dominic. I could never going to say his name right, but he has a YouTube channel now. I think it's DZ for Performance. We did a whole lot of testing with the 496 stuff. This is an interesting thing. So I hit Bob McVeigh with Old Man's Garage, because we want to take a 3-day-3 there. And I had done mild bowl work on a set of IK 180s, and I've done nothing to a set of AFR Enforcer 195s, the old style, because they've got a newer one now. You could still buy the old one. And we wanted a dyno with that. He also said the Dart SS heads to try. So we're going to try switching all heads and see what happens as far as power-wise, just because I think it's interesting. Salvia. If you have a 220 seat, what is the maximum valve you could put on that seat? It's really how brave are you? That's the question to ask. How brave are you? Because back in the day, Profiler, if you got their 210 head back when they were affordable, when a person could actually afford them instead of just you could buy a whole CNC head for what they cost now, they used to put in just a 2.11 seat, so you could put in a 210, but you're light at the end. And I did it and never had a problem. It also, I guess, depends on how deep that seat is too. I don't know that I recommend it. Usually you like to have a little bit more, but you could do it. So really, it's how brave are you? Eric McMahon, do you know anything about Greg Finnegan? Yes, I do. He's trying to get together a dyno competition. That's another interesting one. He hit me up at PRI. He's like, you should take over this engine competition. You should run it and manage it. And I said, man, I just ain't got time because of all this cam challenge stuff. I don't know when the cam challenge stuff gets over. I probably could do it because you got to be a promoter too. And I'm not knocking Greg or nothing, but I'm going to intentionally make people mad at each other if I was doing it, so I get interest. Because you know what makes the street racing so great? And I know this is going to sound odd. You have people in little towns that you do, and they're like, that guy's he's bad to the bone, right? But that's your guy because he's local to you, and you're like, that's my guy. The same thing goes with engine builders. They're like, that's my guy, that's my engine builder. When you get those guys and you get them to compete like that, and you talk a little trash or whatnot, it's not necessarily you're trying to get them angry at each other, but you get the audience more involved because they're invested in their person winning, even if they don't even never have bought an engine from them. So, but I wish I had more time. I wish I had employees to do some of this work so I could do some of the other stuff, but they don't. You're like, well, you should go work for someone else. I like my own freedom, but I also wish I had more resources to make other things happen. Then I could do that. Sorry for long-winded question. Eric McMahon, sorry, Ken Moley. I say her name wrong, but people say my name wrong all the time. My question, if the bowls are huge, like 92%, that's not huge. The exhaust side, now that changes. Still not huge though. Does it affect reversion if you open them up more? I understand overlap plays a huge factor. This is flow thing. Again, and this is going to blow your mind, and at least I'm saying it instead of blowing smoke up people's butt like in the rest of people on Facebook. And I know I'm saying that, but I never measure the bowl on exhaust. I know you're like, what? No, I take exactly one measurement when I port an exhaust port, and that's just the throat. And I know it seems so strange to you guys, but I'm like looking at it when I'm doing it. So even my CNC drag's there, and it's amazing. So when I did the standard port version on a small block Chevy, you've got an outside port and an inside port, and they're different. So like the outside one, it's straight, and then the inside one's kind of angled over. It's amazing because I didn't take any measurements besides the throat, and those flow almost the same. So, and even when you look at the measurements on the inside, they're virtually identical, but I never used the caliper. That's me. It's probably because long ago, I know I'm long-winded, I took Darren Morgan used to offer porting classes, and the first class just gave you math, which is important. But I asked him, because this is when I was starting, is there any way I could pay for like a private lesson for a 2-day deal? He said, sure. And I did it. And he showed me this is how I do exhaust. And I've been doing the same thing ever since. And it just works. So I know I wish I could be like, well, look, you take this voodoo measurement and then you do a math of square root of I don't care, and it works out. I don't do that. Sorry. Happy Snowfish. Wouldn't the Brodix IK200 be closer comparison to the AFR Enforcer? Probably, but here's the thing. There was this guy. So this is the reason why that comes to be. And I've said this before. A lot of my testing involves someone running their mouth. There was a customer who had bought a set of IK180s. It said it on the invoice and everything else. And I did the same thing. I did a bulb in, redid the valve job, did the chambers. And he had contacted me, and we'd gone through back and forth because I said the 180 stock flows the same, almost like within 3 CFM of the 200, and it's got a better port design. That's the one you want to run. And I thought we agreed, put it on the invoice, IK180, did the whole head, ship it out to him, and about 2 weeks later, I get a call, and he's like, "What is this?" He said, "This isn't the 200." I said, "No, it even says on the invoice," because he had to pay 2 invoices, the deposit and the final one. Both said IK180. And I said, "It's the better head, trust me." He was so furious and mad because he wanted me to buy him back, which I wouldn't, because I was like, it's on the invoices. It's clear as day. He got mad because I wouldn't buy him back. So what he did is he sold them to someone, and whoever that is, they got very lucky. And then he bought a set of AFR 195 Enforcers. And in my mind, I thought, I don't think they're going to make, I don't think they'll make as much power. But in all fairness, I just barely ported them. And I mean by that is it's just a basic work. So that was the reason, because Dominic, I was telling Dominic this because we were traveling back from Old Man's Garage, and that guy, that particular customer, and actually he wasn't the actual customer, he was the person who purchased it from the customer, was complaining on the Facebook page about how I'm not a great business or whatever. He won't give you what you wanted. And I was like, one, I didn't do business with you. I did it with your engine builder, and that said on the invoice. But I got to thinking, and I was telling Dominic that, and he's like, well, we should test that. That's the reason for this idea, for us to go up there, because he had both heads. I actually have a set of 180s here too that I'm going to fully port. Won't be on that test because I just won't have enough time to see how that compares. I'm going to compare that to like an AFR 195. Anyway, long-winded, sorry. Let's see. Ed's Machine. What do you think about the AFR 335 and Forster as-cast heads? Pass. Don't get those. If you're going to get a Chinese head, and Promax is not paying me, get the Promax head, that 317 that they have. That 335, we have, with testing with Dominic, that thing was worse than, I think every one of them. It's just not good. Sabri Long, hello, this is Eric Weingartner from Eric. No, you're not. You dick. I hate scammers. I'm not writing any comments in there, so if you see someone like writing saying they're me, they're not me. They're trying to scam you. DMN Carter, can you port the Promax 235 any further, or did you max them out? Did you your port design on them? That is my port design. I gave them the valve job profiles and everything. So can they be ported further? Maybe, but I don't know that I would. That took actually a lot of time. What I will say is I developed a second port after that one. So I dynoed that one on my mule, and I developed a second port, and I have yet to test it. And right now it's being digitized at Wilkes. I don't know when I'll get that back either. But once that comes back, I want to run that through the dyno test and see how it does. Because that one's just slightly different, and I want to see if it's actually any better, because I don't know. Because that one I did for Promax is pretty good. Bob McVeigh, you're my favorite famous hero, Uncle Bob. Whatever. I'm no hero. Oh, dang. Got me again. His name was Lake Speed, that's correct. Justin Morris. Would a 5-angle valve job have any benefits on a daily driver? Yes, it absolutely would. It makes the air flow more because you get more angles to turn, assuming you have room. Driver that will be run kind of hard, and would a 3-angle or maybe a 50-degree seat be better? 50-degree seat probably wouldn't be. You have to have more than 600 lift to really take advantage. Okay. Eric Man, Lake Jr., Speed Jr. Yes, I suck at names. Tom Lewandowski. I know it's better to run ahead with a port volume that's too small than one that's too big. Is that the same for intake manifolds? You know what's funny is it always shows up. Bigger manifold always makes more power on the dyno. Sometimes it might be down a few foot-pounds of torque. I can't say. I need to go to the track. And maybe, Tom, if you want to test something, we could try something and test that too. I was hoping maybe on Bishop's car, once a different motor gets in there, not this one. This one's really to get him used to driving the car. We could test it like something like that. Because I know for a fact I have done this test where I ran a Performer RPM air gap, which made a ton of torque and everything else. It's a much smaller manifold. And on the dyno, it was only down like 5 horsepower from the single plane. We put the single plane on, it was almost a tenth faster, and it should not have been if you look at the dyno graph. And I was the only one. I've seen that happen several times. Stephen Carter, trick flow is on B280 oval port. Do you have any in stock? People I always ask, do I have sets in stock? The only heads I have in stock are my Dragon Slayers for small block Chevy. And currently both are out. One's being sent to Scorpion so they can make rockers. Another one's used by a customer for mock-up. I don't keep heads in stock because you'd have to have millions of dollars in inventory. I can get anything usually within a month to 2 months, but it depends on the manufacturer. Sometimes they jerk me around too. Trick flows right now, I think they're out. Happy Snowfish. I actually was looking for a replacement head and I saw the AFR Enforcers part number 1. Don't ever give me part numbers because I don't remember them. Just tell me what they are. The new AFR Enforcers, I think, are better than the old ones. At PRI, AFR said they were going to send me them so I could flow them. I could do a review. I have yet to get anything. But they did send the 18-degree big block Magnum, though. You can watch that one. Okay. Mike Frame. Thanks. Cool, Eric. Follow him also. I'll definitely look for that. NJ Racing. If you were to develop a sheet metal intake manifold, do the intake runners need to crosstalk? How important is the plenum volume? If I was doing sheet metal manifold, it'd be like a tunnel ramp. And I just have them apart. I did whatever works. Scott Burnell. I'm thinking about upsizing the intake valve on a GT40P. What's your thoughts? I've done it once and made it bigger. It's fine. But I did it because it was a pure stock. They didn't allow any porting. If I was you, and I know you're probably like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. Get a different head. Sell them. Those really are not that good. Ford stock heads suck. Sorry, they do. They're not like a Chevy Vortec where you can make power. They can make barely any power. Have you had much, David True, have you had much experience with the Brodix Dash 8 heads? No, that's too old of a head. I usually pass on those. Matt, for 3K, what's the best set of 383 small block Chevy heads for street strip? I'm looking at the AFR Eliminators competition finish. Your channel rocks. Thanks for your endless info. I would say you'd be better off with my Pro Max 235 than their competition ones. And they're right at 3,000. Get Jimmy Dell to promote it. Jimmy Dell's a great guy, but I know you're talking about the engine thing. But I don't know if he's like people wouldn't know him in the engine building community. They know him in the racing community. Well, they might too. I don't know. All I need is someone just to stir the pot and let it boil. Happy Snowfish. I thought the 280 would flow better. I did too until I flowed them. I don't know what Stephen Carter, as in Morgan and Shepard. I'm not sure on that. EPA angry. I actually think if you watch the news since you brought up the EPA, I think they just got rid of a lot of their stuff. I don't know if that's the way to run it, but whatever, not my business. Oh. Bill Curtis, are you going to send me some stickers? Yes. I truly forget. Trust me. I'm not joking. In an average day, I'll get like 40 emails. And this is not including the junk ones because like a fool, I put my email down for Bishop's recruiting stuff because he wasn't checking his email. So now I'm getting college offers like 20 a day. That's in the junk file. The point is, man, it's like just delete. Oh, that one's important. Anyway, I'll get to it. Bob, hey man, I'm just getting ready to build an LT1. It was pulled out of my uncle's 70.5 Z28. Can I back you up just a second? Don't say LT1 because there's actually an LT1 engine that has like the OptiSpark stuff, and a lot of people get confused with that. Just say you have a small block that came out of a 70.5 Z28. He said it was a runner in the 70s and 80s. Any opinion on rebuilding that motor? This hit has 45,000 miles. I would definitely rebuild it. Probably has a set of the double hump heads, and those are pretty good. I'm getting ready to dyno that. Matter of fact, the 3D3 dyno mule, the reason why I'm going to Dunsboro too is because I got almost every part for that to put it together. So the short block's together, sort of. I sent Daniel Powell, he's going to do me a cam. Because here's what I told Daniel Powell to do. I said, hey, buddy. Hey, good buddy. I want you to design a cam on a small block Chevy, small base circle because of these rods. Pick your most popular 6-liter LS cam you got, whichever one you sell the most for 6 liters. Grind those same specs for that small block Chevy with the 900 base circle and the 1.6 rocker. And that's what he's going to do. And that's what's going on in 383. That's the dyno mule. We're going to test the double hump heads. I haven't even had a chance to get those parts together, but I got all the rest that put the rest of the short block together. That once the heads are done, boom, it's on, and we're testing. Anyway, Andrew Jefferson. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I skipped person. Let me come back. I'll come back to you, Andrew. Kyle Bennett, looking to build a 11-to-1 490 strict street chip. What trick flow heads would you recommend? If you're doing more street, I would definitely do the 280. They have so much better down low. If you're doing the bigger one, the 320, I don't like that head. I don't. I would switch you to something else. You could either do an AFR, even the 305. You do the AFR 305 or the 325, the Brodix 327, the 3 extra 327, any of those. But I wouldn't do their 320. I'm not a fan of that head. The 280, thumbs up for me. Now to Aaron Jefferson. Did ProMax finally start producing your big block Chrysler heads? No, and that's a funny story. I won't go into too much of the details except for to say this. They will never sell that head, either in the ASCAS version or the one I designed the port for, ever. So you can give up on waiting for that. Mike Frame, what did you decide to leave teaching, and get into porting for a living? One, I was porting while I was teaching. So I would literally, because I taught from, you're going to make me think here, 2004, and I left in 17. So a long time. Seems like it was longer, but whatever. My math might be bad. I'm forgetting some of the dates. No, it was 2003 to 17. Sorry. But during that time, I think about 2005, you're going to get a kick out of this, or think I'm a pure idiot. At least I'm being honest with my background. I had ported heads, and I read all those David Vizard books and stuff, and I didn't have a slow bench. But I was just trying to make enough money, even just to pay for any car parts, because teaching paid dick. Matter of fact, I still remember my first year of teaching. You got paid monthly, $1,470. That's what the 1 month of pay was for the whole month. And I'm not that old. We went and did our taxes, and we owed $1,032 that year. And I was like, we're broke. And yeah. Anyway, if you wanted to buy anything for the race car, I remember I saved up a whole year to buy a Chinese Hurricane intake that was $132. So I was like, I can port heads. I'd ported several cast iron. I should do this for people. So I went on Craigslist and I was like, head porting. And I think I charged like $150. And it was cast iron back then. Like I did a ton of that. But I'd still only get like 1 or 2 in a month. And that went for race car stuff. And then I raised the price because it got busier. And then it kind of snowballed. But all this would happen after hours from teaching. So I didn't leave teaching, by the way, to do porting head full time. If you saw that shirt that I was wearing and I announced this live feed, it said AG Equipment. I left teaching and went there. And those were 5 10-hour days. And that was, it was instrumentation and electronics. What I did was I bent stainless steel tubing, and that made you use your brain. but you had to make them all go together, go to different devices and whatnot. And I did that. Still did the porting after. So I mean, people were like, "You're just doing it part time." No, it's still like 50 or 60 hours a week. I just didn't have any free time at all. That's why I wasn't racing the car or nothing. And then COVID hit, and it's a long story here on this one, but YouTube was paying enough. Matter of fact, YouTube at that time was paying me more per month than the teaching salary had, even though I was working at AG Equipment, which they were paying considerably better. But anyway, they were like, we were dead. And I mean, dead. They weren't selling natural gas compressor skids. And people don't remember this or have a selective memory. But oil was trading for nothing. This was in Trump's term, but it was trading at like nothing. So the oil fields was dead. The natural gas compressor skids was dead. And so we built natural gas compressor skids, but AG Equipment was privately owned. He paid us to stand around for like 9 months. So during that time, COVID got nuts. And they're like, the owner, who was 93, he's like, hey, and he'd been paying us for 9 months, literally to stand. You couldn't sit down, though. That was his one thing. You didn't have to do a whole lot of anything. Just stand there. You could talk with people. You could not sit down. But he was only working 8 hours a day at that point. And he said, and I knew this wasn't going to go over well. He said, you got to have vaccines. And I wasn't against it or nothing, because I'd already had mine, because we were planning to take a trip to DC, and you couldn't get in it anywhere without having one. But about that time, so once he said that, there were so many people. We had guys that had been there for like 30 years. There was like a mass exodus. I bet you there was 30 or 40 people. Well, I could see the writing on the wall. YouTube was paying decent enough. At least it could cover insurance, because AG had fantastic insurance. And if you go self-employed, you'll know your health insurance is tough. So I had to go my wife's plan, and then, man, it was wow. We spent over $1,000 a month on insurance, just health insurance. That's not dental or vision. So anyway, I saw the writing on the wall, so I was like, all these people are going to leave, and they're still going to want to get the same amount of work done, and it's going to be impossible. And they're going to run us like slaves. And, I need to do this full time, because at the time, the wait times for getting heads ported was like 11 months. So I just pulled the pin and said, hey, I'll see you guys later. Appreciate the opportunity, and started doing this full time. So that's more than what I know. O'Brien Performance Engines in the Garage. My Dragon Slayers are 253 prototype you did. Pat, those weren't the prototypes. I think the first one that ever was done, that one actually went on the dyno at Skip White's Performance. That was the first one. So yours weren't the prototypes. Ram Addiction. Really enjoyed the last stream. Glad to be a part of another one. Well, thanks for coming. What is the average cost to rebuild a motor? Bob, that's from question from Bob. I don't rebuild motors anymore. I used to do quite a bit, and I was like, I say a bit, 6. But remember, this is porting heads and having a full-time job. It wasn't worth it anymore. It's taking too long. So I don't have an answer for that. Jason Matthews, thanks for the question. I truly appreciate your knowledge. I learned so much. The membership and books are well worth it. Thank you, buddy. The Dragon Slayer prototype 253 set up for nitrous Edelbrock. That is yours, and you are the first. It went a 498 in the 8th. So I'm reading this guy's O'Brien Performance and Engines and Garage. He does have the first set of Dragon Slayers, and there's been one alteration that was made because I was a little nervous on that one. But wow, he also had this one that was on my channel that was this 2892 that I welded up and converted to a diamond. And I wish I'd tested that on the mule. Matter of fact, I think I did actually, and it did really well. But he said he went 498 in the 8th. That's great, man. That's fantastic. That's a standard valve spacing head too, by the way. Paul, what's the total for your dyno tune, your fee and dyno fee, carb, big block Chevy? So Dunsworth has a fee that they charge to dyno, and I charge. I know whatever Dunsworth charge, I charge $100 more than what he does, depending. So if it's If it's something where it's going to take longer, I might charge 200. So it's between 1 and 200, depends on the thing, for half a day. Then you could go longer. Typically, he charges like 500 for half a day, 1,000 for a full day. So worst case scenario, you'd be out, if I was with you, $1,400. But anyway, there's some things that can mess that up. So as a note, you would like to think that dyno sessions go smooth, but a lot of times something doesn't work, and then you're fighting it. And it's like something won't start, timing's off. I mean, not just timing, like weird stuff. And that just eats time, but you're not making any tuning power. But I'd be happy to do it. I love doing that part. I love working with Gary. I would, if Gary was in Broken Arrow instead of Enid, I would be like, man, let's merge our businesses. Let's just make it happen because we'll be fine. Because he's got awesome employees too. Perfect. But anyway, Adrian, oh my gosh, this is my fault. If you touch the screen, it goes back to now I'm way off. There we go. Sorry about that. Adrian ABG, Voodoo stock heads are nice. I agree. Justin Morris, awesome. Thanks, man, for all the info. You're welcome. Joe, I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm going to call you Marshawn. What lift would you recommend for running a spring roller and a drag and drive endurance? As much as you can feel comfortable with. So, again, it really is, like people ask me, like, how much would you safely? Sometimes I'm brave and sometimes I'm scared. So, really, it's whatever you are comfortable with. But me, I don't have a problem with over 700 valve lift. And I know some people are like, whoa, that's a lot. Not on a big block. So if it's not big on a big block, why is it not big on a small block? Anyway. Let's see. Salvia, I heard that the stock Gen 3 Hemi head has port velocity of 420 per seat. Is that possible? I don't know. I need to flow one. I've got this Hemi over here, and I still haven't even taken it to the dyno, just behind. Kyle Bennett, what trick flow has? I've already answered that one. I said the trick flow 280. Big Diesel, thanks for the 5 buckaroos. What's your favorite cubic inch big block Chevy? Probably a 582, because most times you get in those tall decks, headers don't fit. Otherwise, it'd be like 632. Chevy RC, is the Brodix 10XR heads discontinued? They actually are. You can't even order them from Brodix anymore. I mean, they say they'll take your order, but you won't even get them for like a year or more. Perry Ford, 351 Cleveland heads stock suck. Benchmark for NASCAR and Pro Stock. I don't know. There's some people running pretty fast with them. Connie Freeman, aluminum bow tie large port Vortex 215, worth the money. I haven't flowed that one, so I don't know. Kyle Bennett, thanks. I happen to have a Victor Jr. oval port intake, so that would be a good combo, I believe. Probably would be. Matt, what subject did you teach? I taught 4th grade. I never stopped teaching 4th grade. Now, this is rare. So if you have a spouse that's a teacher or whatever, usually they jump grade levels. I never did. When I first started teaching, they were like, you need to get to 4th grade because they don't do any testing. By chance, my first teaching job was in 4th grade. And that's the year they started doing testing on 4th grade. And I never left it. So I switched to a different school and I stayed there for the rest of my teaching career, but it's all in 4th grade. They never wanted me to move me, and I don't blame them because my scores always beat everybody else. And I'm not cocky about engine stuff. I'm totally cocky about teaching because I'd put my class against anybody else's, and they knew it. And that made them upset too because there's nothing like at the end of the year or the beginning of the next year when they look at the test scores. And I'd have a class of 23, 18 test advanced in math. And these, by the way, I'm in a low-income school. 18 test advanced. There were only the worst score you can get is unsatisfactory. My worst score was limited knowledge, which is above unsatisfactory. I have 2 kids. This is out of 23, and the scores coming in, it would be like 0 or maybe 1 or 2 advanced, 5 satisfactory, about 7 limited knowledge, and 5 unsatisfactory. So I always taught 4th. So I did fantastic. It's too bad that the Nate came in and took tests, and I always picked my class. I don't know why. Probably to make us look better, but whatever. I would love to see those results, but they're hidden by Congress because I'd like to see where I stacked up against the nation because I'd have put my class against anybody. Anyway, to real stuff. Broke Joe builds Iron Head challenge. Yes, I do plan to do a double hump challenge. I have no idea when. Because I'm probably going to drag that 3-3 all the way up to Greg's place and do some testing there. John Batoma, is the GMLSX dual plane rectangular port intake manifold available for purchase? No, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that one. You might be able to get it from General Motors, but that one I tested, that one came from a customer. Bob, you're correct. They're 186 camel hump heads. I want to get them done. I deleted a comment, mistyped 186, 286. Gotcha. I don't port them, by the way. They're cast iron. Russ Lathrop, in what engine application would you choose an Edelbrock Victor Glidden small block Ford heads over the Victor small block Ford? If you're targeting power above, I'd say 7,200 RPM, or you're bigger than 427 cubic, well, bigger than 400 cubic inches. But it takes more work than what it seems because you got the water crossover at that point you got to worry about. 5 years after COVID, that was a nightmare, and it was. Oh, man. My fingers. Bear with me here. I often wonder why some of you retract comments. Campbell. Hi, Eric. Do you port the short side of it? Seems like I've answered this question on the last live feed like 15 times. Eric, my man, have you considered getting a Centroid? Would it fit in your garage? Yes, it would. I have considered a Centroid, I don't know how many times. I just farted, by the way. So a toot for you guys. But no, I can't afford it. I probably could get a loan, but they probably want the house as equity, as not equity, but collateral. And that's a bridge I won't cross. I just won't do it. I won't. They're $350,000. It'd probably take 5-7 years to break even. And I have a son that's giving it to college that's $20,000 a year. So that's $60,000 I still need to come up with. Lucky I've got 1 year saved. If you're a parent, you understand this. 1 year. I'm fairly certain they're going to say you qualify for no grants, no scholarships. So I got to cough up all that. So I couldn't even if it wasn't going to college, I couldn't afford that. I mean, I could. Here's the other thing. This is no joke. This has happened this week. Every single CNC machine I know, it breaks down. So my CNC guy that's doing one of my CNC guys, his Centroid broke. $20,000 to fix it. So the fixture is having a $350,000 machine and having to have $20,000 just to fix it. Then this other CNC guy that I'm working with, his machine broke. It's down right now. One of the other CNC guys that I'm working with, he delayed me forever because his Rottler broke over and over and over. And I was waiting and waiting. Then this other guy who had a Fadal, it broke. And I was waiting over and over and over. So I don't know. The machine sounds great, but look at the track record for all these CNC guys that do them. They break all the time. So it makes things even worse. David True. Are the Pro Max regular Max series comparable with the Project X? No, they're not. They're like a Brodix IK head. Connie Freeman. Thank you for your response. You are so welcome, Connie. I don't even know who you are. Stephen Carter. Thank you for your service. You too, Stephen. NJ Racing. If you have a good port and velocity numbers up to 700 lift and stays the same at 900, would you go any further when running a 650 lift cam in a street engine? I'm going to test that because to me, I run as much lift as I can because let's say you peak flows at 700, I'd still run like a 800 lift cam because you can see more time at 700. That's me. RC Cola, rad. Yeah, I know. I'm so tempted to drink it. I just want some sugar so bad. And I'm thirsty from talking. Let's see. I did it to myself again. Eric Regal, what's your opinion of the uh, what's your opinion on your top ported 195 profiler heads versus top ported 195 AFR heads versus AFR in-house competition 195 heads? Would you pick for 3-3? I'll tell you this, and I'm probably being cocky. If money was an option, I'd port the profiler 195, and it will be everything AFR has, everything. And why not? You can put whatever on it; it wouldn't matter. I'll beat it on a 383. It would cost you a fortune because profilers now are like $50 cheaper than the AFR CNC ones. So you'd spend quite a bit of money, but it would be better. Chevy RC. Thank you, Eric. This is very cool and very helpful. Thanks again for your cool, good dude. I am not a good dude. I am a bad man. Bad man. Salvia, do you ever cut the valve margin area for flow? I don't. Also about putting a groove in the face of the valve for version. No. The last thing I want to do is put a groove in a valve because my fear is it'll break. And then I don't care how much power made when you got pieces everywhere. Campbell, in the last live feed, you were LXCU. You asked that same question, and I answered it. I said you can go watch a video. Did they shape the same? Sort of, but not quite. Eric McMahon, Darren Morgan said he could make 4-barrel Cleveland heads flow 380. I'm surprised the man can't make a flow 450. He's a genius. We've seen Payne. What timing would you suggest for 1,000 horsepower 582? I can't answer that one. And I know you want me to, Lucene, and I appreciate you piping in. Every time I dial an engine, I don't know what timing it wants. I start off I usually start at 35. It's a good number. Horsepower TV starts like 28. I think every time I'm like, that's dumb. But no, start at 35 if you're a big block, small block. LS, you can start at 28. You work up, you'll see. But it'd be a total guess because camshaft does play a lot of it, which you wouldn't think it would because it has to do with cylinder pressure and whatnot. So there you go. Kevin Clancy, thanks for the $10. Bob, you retracted it because you're fat fingers. I do too. I have very fat fingers, and can I just say this? This is not related to racing at all. I hate the typing feature on the iPhone. No matter what you do, it misses. And they're saying like AI is going to make everything better. I thought it would make the keyboard better, so I'd figure out what letter I'm pressing, but it don't. So whatever. DZ performance. Sorry, Bob. Love your vids. Thank you, Bob. DZ performance. Dyno testing with Weingartner Racing is more fun than rub and tug. He'd never heard that saying before. There was some massage parlor. Make it sound like Broken Arrow's a slum, but it's not. Broken Arrows are really, really, I would say it's almost bougie city. But anyway, they had some massage parlor get busted down here, and I was telling him about it. I said, yeah, I'm the old rub and tug, and he had never heard of that. But if you know what it is, you know what it is. Joe Carroll, do you repair welded aluminum heads? I don't. I know, buddy. I probably would. If I could do it for you, I would. I would get a hold of Gerald Brand. He's on YouTube. I'm telling you, just search him up, Brand Racing Engines. He'd do it. He's great. He's in Oklahoma City. If you need it fixed, he's the guy. Salvia, just one more, LOL. People are claiming 387 CFM on a Gen 3 Hemi. Is that possible? I don't know because I haven't flown them stock. Probably, though. The head's good. Wow, I'm almost running out of questions. Eric Weiner, if Brian Tooley offers to let you test the new Canaan valve LS heads, take him up on it. He says the regular valve reliefs will work, and those will make 10 horsepower more than AFR. We have talked because he's a good guy, and I said, man, can you send me the unported one? I'd like to maybe try to make a program for him, and he's supposed to be sending me one. I hope he does. I'm trying to get him, Brian Tooley, old buddy, old pal, to see if he could send down a 427 with those heads on. We could use that for the new cam challenge in October. But he has to make money too. And don't be like, well, he's making tons of money. He's spending tons of money too. He's got a big building and buys a lot of stuff. Anyway. Russ Lather, thank you for your answers. Have you ever ported Edelbrock Glidden Victor Pro Port cast heads? No, because that'd be a really lot of time. That's one of those ones where you have to port it and then send it off, get digitized, because it would take you too long by hand. Dirk, just join. Can't say, just join. Can't stay. Just wanted to say I love the channel. I love you too, buddy. Nitro Man. I bought PBM competition valves. Exhaust valves are back cut as well. Is it going to hurt performance? No, just run them. You'll be fine. I used to run those a lot. Broke Joe builds. Back when you ported iron, what's the best Vortec head you have ever done flow performance? I got one to flow 300, but I only got to do it on one port. And I mean to tell you, because you could reach out and feel the short side, that's thin. There was this other guy in Claremore that got up to, he got one to go like 310, I want to say. But I bet you it's the same way. You could do it. I feel comfortable with 270. Feels comfortable, like less worried. So really is. That's what I'd say. Kristen Parsons, what's your feelings on 049 heads with big valves 30 over 454? They're okay. I don't have a problem with that head. Stephen Carter, when does the kiddo swim next? Hopefully, he's done with short course. Short course is like, this would be like considered a long course. Short course is the pools like this. So they have to make more turns. They're going the same distance, but they get more flips, so they're faster. Short course season's over. He doesn't start long course. I think his first meets in the May. We got a while, thank God. He needs a break too. Kristen Parson, factory forged flat tops and forged crank. Okay. Willie Harris, Eric, you did my ProMax head 317. Hulk intake, in your opinion? No. Pass. I haven't even seen it yet, but it's too big for what you're doing. No way. Bill Curtis, if you can't remember the specs on my Dragon Slayers and cam and intake, where do you think I should theoretically stop with timing? I can find your specs, Bill Curtis. They're on my phone, which is recording. But I could tell you, you just need to you do the timing by how much power it makes. So you would add a degree. If you're at the track, look at mile per hour. You might add a degree and see if it goes faster, mile per hour. Try to keep your 60 foots and everything the same, as consistent as possible. If it goes faster, great. When the mile an hour drops off, back it off. If you really want to be safe, back it off 2 degrees. Sometimes it ain't worth the extra degree. So it really isn't. You're just hurting stuff. Bob, what's the average cost to rebuild a set of 186s? Woo! It could be high because drill out the guides to put new guides in it. I don't put hard seats in, and I just run what you got. But you got the studs and guide plates. That's expensive. You'd be in a lot of money. More than I'll put it this way, more than a new set of aluminum heads. Willie Harris, nitrous. Don't care. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, bad idea. T Chaps. I wish there were more Vortex 305 head content on YouTube. I don't think there's a lot out there. I'm trying to get one to use for the dyno testing, but even done with the NAMs. That shows you how rare they are as far as out there. But you never know. Nitro Man, thanks, Eric, for the help. You're welcome. Let's see. David True, have you ever dynoed up an engine where the cam just set straight up and the time marks without being degreed to know the power difference between straight up and degreed? Yeah, we did it 28 times on the LS. We never degreed it in. But if you're wondering like how much more power it makes, Eric, would you like to have my port molds for my CHI port designs? I will throw them away if you don't want them. Racer D, I won't reveal your name, but he's pretty good. I mean, he's pretty good. Yeah, you could send him. I just don't get a lot of people wanting me to do CHI stuff, man. That's a Ford world. And they're like, it's too expensive, especially now. Because you know those come from Australia, and I'm surprised we put another tariff on them or something. Everything's crazy high. But yeah, I'd be curious. David B, watch the Brian Tooley for Spintron test tech and crazy RPM. Also watch Frankenstein videos, lots of info. Frankenstein did do a test on his manifolds here recently, and I was like, you weren't the only one. But I was actually pretty proud of that one. He did a good job, except for I wish he hadn't showed the actual dyno graphs. Don't show an animation one. I don't like that. It gives and I'm not saying he did, but it makes it look like it's not real. So, with fuel flow numbers and stuff. so people can ridicule you like they do me with fuel flow. Demon Carter, what intake do you recommend for 235? I saw the intakes you tested AFR versus Project X video. It depends on the RPM, so you need to answer that part. So tell me the RPM. Or sorry, not RPM, but RPM and cubic inches. DM Carter, if you ever milled any of those intakes, so for port lineup, I too have fave fingers. Yep. I have milled down intakes to get them to fit better. We did a test on that, and it was worth 9 horsepower. This is off topic. Ever work on a Ford Profiler small block Ford head? If so, what did you do, and where did you need most? My butt's going numb. Have not seen. I've seen those only at trade shows, and I wasn't a fan because it has no short side, like none. Ken Knoll, wide-ranging conversation this evening, from Mabel's Cat House to Airflow. I would agree. Cat House on Mabel's Cat House. They're together. Looks like Cat House. Pontiac 411. I always looked at the timing for ET and mile per hour, fuel for mile per hour. Okay. Willie Harris, hold up. I spent money with you on heads and you don't care, bro? No, I'm saying I care. I say don't run that intake manifold. That's what I said. I don't care if you're running nitrous. Do not run that manifold. You will not like it. It's not sized right. One, I don't even think it'll fit. So you have to mill the sides off. So yes, I care about you, bro. No, I'm saying don't run that. I don't care what nitrous you're putting to it. Don't run it. The better one for you, you can run a Track Warrior, a 4500 top. You can run a Profiler. That will take some port matching, though, and chances are it probably won't fit because I've tried it on my mule and it didn't fit. But if you could trim off the sides, you can get it to fit. Those would be the options. So before you jump to conclusions, listen to the whole thing. Sajay Khan. On the Brodix race rights for the Big Sock Chevy, does a person need 10 to 15 extra on the exhaust lobe? Probably because the exhaust flow is not very good. Nitro Man. Comp cans 987 spring installed on a 1.8. Wanting to run a Beehive Pack 1218. You know, I had the second person ask me for that one. No. Is it just as simple as switching springs and retainers with the seats? Somebody, that guy, he wants me in those 1218, so I ordered them. Ordered the retainers too. Finding the locator, I'm still looking. Instead of running the stock seal one is what I need. And you're like, well, I know they say drop in. Yeah, that's great if you're just dropping in. But if you've done any valve job on it, you need to put a shim underneath it. I don't think that seal setup works too good when you got a shim underneath it. Matter of fact, I'm almost positive it doesn't. It's just going to crush things. But whatever. I would recommend not doing that. Just get a BTR kit. DM Carter. I have a set of 416 305 heads if you ever want to test them. Have some old school Edelbrock 185s. Maybe. I heard Trump say on Fox News, this man, he's putting 500% tariffs on imported aluminum heads. I wouldn't doubt it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what he's doing. I make a point now to not watch any news. It's just best. Just stay away. Do you sell the 280 heads, Kyle Bennett? I do. Bob, you said the answer as my motor, same answer my motor builder. He said buying aluminum is cheaper than rebuilding the 186s. Heads are good as 186s. Do you have any availability? At what cost? Typically, I'd say the Project X heads around about $1,500, $1,600. That's what I do. Pontiac 411. One thing you may want to test is milling a raised runner intake to fit a standard runner head, referencing a small block Chevy. I don't even know if they even make them anymore. Edelbrock used to make that 2971. They don't make that anymore. At least, maybe they do. They were out of it for a long time. How hard is it? This is Sajay Khan. How hard is it to install 300 valves in a race right head with the 2250? Not that hard. You can just cut them out. Valve job. Willie Willie Harris. I understood. Think that cool. I stick one builder as all should. Eric is great. Flow the heads. His numbers are a fact, so you get your heads and set the correct intake. Yes, but only the downside on those Promaxes, and yeah, I'm fighting it too. They have this. I don't have any head here. They have a huge step right there on the valve cover rail, and that's why I say the intakes won't fit. This is a true story. The 540 got done getting dyno tested, and I was like, all right, I'm going to switch intakes, do some intake testing. Could not get it off. The heads had expanded just enough where it would not come off. I had to take, it was such a pain in the rear. I was like, fine, I'm just going to, because I was going to switch heads after that anyway. So like, I'll pull off the heads. Gary put that bolt underneath. So on the big block Chevy, you got the other one on the aftermarket block. He put that one there. For the life of us, it took half a day to get that intake off. I ended up just like cramming it forward and cramming it back until it finally freed. So now I'm like milling it right there by the valve cover rail so this never happens again, because I'm pointing those heads now. Shahzad Khan, thanks, Eric. You the man. Trust me, I am not as good as you guys give me credit for. I'm going to bunch this. Ranch Terror Channel. Is there any order of operations, book or list printable to work out how a novice can decide how to build their first engine? Just warning where to begin. Thank you for your channel. I would say Rare Morrison. I've always said it wrong. They're down in Texas. I want to say they sold engine building books. And from what I heard, it was the best you could get, but they are not cheap. But they're not filled with what I call fluff. You get a lot of these engine books, they're like so general and generalized stuff, picture, generalize one specific thing, generalize, and you get nothing out of them besides your wallet got lighter. I think the Rare Morrison has like pictures and how to do things. However, what I would do if you're really wanting to learn how to build an engine, do this. Say you're doing a small block Chevy, and I'm just picking that one. You can do the same thing with the LS. Go on not Craigslist, they don't really even exist. Go on Facebook Marketplace. Find you the cheapest one they have. So if you're trying to build an LS, find like a 5348. Someone says even it has a hole in the piston, doesn't care. Take that engine, buy that, and take it apart and put it back together and learn how to check some things. That will help you. That's what I would do. And your first engine should actually be a POS, because if you messed it up, you don't feel so bad. The worst thing to do is your first engine to be the most expensive thing you've ever purchased in your life, because you're going to watch your soul fade away and you're going to leave racing because of that mistake with the engine. And I don't want you or any of my fans to leave racing because it got too expensive because of a mistake, because mistakes are going to happen. They still happen to me all the time. So on your first one, don't invest so much money into that engine. If it runs and it runs well for a year, save your pennies for each month that it's running. Even if you're like last at the racetrack, it doesn't matter. Save that money to start building a better one. Because once you've done it once, it'll probably have mistakes that go wrong, but you can learn how to fix them, and that will make you better too. That's my advice. The Nitro Man. Did you ever figure out what the difference was between the Victor Junior intakes? Why the one made more power than not? No, I wish I did. Alex Gerald. Man, my butt is so numb. Note to self, next time, better chair. Alex Gerald. AFR 290 oval port for big block Chevy. Ever done it or testing on those? I know I float them. I don't know if I did a video. It's been a minute. Someone, I really tuned down. I'm like, this is going to be funny. Let's see. T-chaps. If you were setting up, oh man, it moved on me. If you're setting up, moved again. If you're setting up a 350 or 60 for towing, what would you do to make max torque 2,500 to 4,500, like most truck cams seem to peak? First off, don't look at any down charts in the 2,500 RPM range. You're like, what? Why? You're never going to be towing. I mean, it's pretty rare. for your wide open throttle at 2,500 RPM. There's this channel I follow on YouTube. It's called TFL Trucks. And they have the Ike Gauntlet. So it's like a steep incline that's through the mountains. And they'll pull a lot of weight and see how these trucks do. They're never at 2,500 RPM. Never. You hear me? Never. Never at wide open throttle at 2,500 RPM. Why? Because it's pointless. Because you're making your peak torque at 4,500 or whatnot. Why in the world would you want your wide open throttle peak performance to be at 2,500 RPM instead of 45 where you're making more torque? It doesn't make any sense. So ignore those. What you're really asking is, what makes the most torque at part throttle to help with towing? And for that, usually it's a smaller duration camshaft. But there's other factors too, because you want to build cylinder pressure as well that helps with torque. So I would get with your cam guy and let them pick what's best. That's my advice for you. So, man, that one went by fast. Eric Weingartner, I noticed that you and Chad have the same flow benches. Do you two collaborate? You may not know our history, evidently. Eric, man, me and Chad, at one time, were like bitter enemies. I'm telling you, both of us had homemade benches at the time too. I made mine, he made his. And you can go back and look, it might still be there on Yellow Bullet. We thoroughly did not enjoy each other, and it showed. And then I got the science bench, and he got a Superflow from somewhere. And but anyway, we get along great. But I don't know if we're gonna ever team up. But I have nothing against him now. We worked through our problems, I'd say. So, but yeah, we were pretty good enemies. But now I truly would like to see him do well, especially in his stock car. He's trying to get his car run. He has a car that he's trying to be in Chevrolet stock class or super stock, I think. I don't remember. But I want to see him be successful in that. And it has no part of me on it. I still want him to do great in that car. Because if a person has that much dedication to whatever it is, it doesn't have to be Chagaby anyway, and you put that much dedication, I want you to be successful. I don't want to see people be successful that they're just lucky and they barely do anything, but then they win. Those are the people who are like, oh, that guy, Chad's really trying, so I would like to see him do well. Sajay Khan, Chad Spire, elliptical and epoxy baby. Let's see. T6H, whatever. Thank you for your knowledge and content. P.S. It would be nice if you would not constantly compare conventional small block Chevy to LS architecture. You know why I do? Because you guys do. As a matter of fact, most of you just knock the small block Chevy consistently. Yet each time when I dyno, it's like I don't know how many times I've heard LS is superior. But then when I did the dyno mule, they're not. They're the same. They're only a few horsepower difference. But you can't tell people that. So why I do the comparison is because so many people will see small block Chevy stuff and say, it's just old school stuff, you boomer. And I'm not even a boomer, by the way. That's a disgrace. Don't call me that. Nothing wrong with boomers, by the way. But you get the idea. I'm not a boomer. I'm not a millennial either. I'm Gen X. We're the forgotten generation. But anyway, a lot of people see the small block Chevy stuff and you think it's just some old guy that just does stuff. And, a carburetor guy. But the facts are, it's an engine. So is an LS. So is a Ford. But the problem is that LS guys seem to be the worst about it's only LS stuff. LSs are just magic, and you can't met. They all intertwine. So that's the reason why it does it. It probably seems that way, but I'm trying not to be. Pontiac 411. If Pace is still selling GM bow tie intake, it is a raised runner milled to fit a standard runner head. Tony at BS tuned me onto this mod in the mid-2000s. Chevy RC. At the beginning of the year, then later, it was slowing down, and I want to redo it. Hope that helps for a new group. Stephen Carter, Motor Books, How to Build Small Block Chevys, a good starter book. Kind of. It just doesn't give me any exact details. Kyle Bennett, is it worth the money and effort to go to a 2250 on a Trick Flow 280 head? I haven't tested that, so I'm not sure. Pontiac 411. Speed Talk Wars. Actually, Speed Talk was like one of the forums that was the exception. So Speed Talk used to be an actual legit good technical forum, and I mean really good. So you had people like Darren Morgan used to post there. I mean, he had some amazing one. This is back when Don Terrell ran it. It was phenomenal. Okay, it was great. The problem was with that form, and it probably happened in every form. Speed Talk took longest for this to happen. But the problem with any forum is me and many others read and just consumed as much information as we could. Others were like, well, that guy seems like he knows it all. I want to be the guy that seems like everybody knows it all. And some people use it to advertise businesses. Like if you made yourself look great and people believe you're great, then you must be great. And I don't know how many of the people from the forums that I found out weren't at all what they pretended to be, that they didn't know anything or very little. But in the beginning, Speed Talk was the best technical resource you could find, period. Yellow Bullet had all the stuff where people talk trash. So it was definitely more the cruder side. But now, I don't know. I think I got banned from Speed Talk. And I haven't been on Yellow Bullet in forever. I don't have no desire. Matt Field, do you have a good starting point jet-wise for a tunnel ram on a small block, very similar to your old 4.6 mil? No, and I'm going to tell you why. It really depends on the carburetor. So if you have a different air bleed setup, that totally affects how your jets are and stuff. So I don't really have a regular. I know you want one. I don't. What's your Sajay Khan? What's your favorite piston manufacturer? I probably should. Race Techs were in this stuff, and I should say them since they actually helped me out, but no, I'm not. I think the best looking piston I have ever had came from CP Pistons. So their stuff is top notch. But I would say a close second's probably Diamond. Not Wiseco, but JE, some of their stuff is pretty good, but not all. Some of it's really just outdated. A lot of the others, it's so if money was no object, I'd say CP Piston Custom. If not them, Diamond. I just had a customer who bought a set of Diamond Custom Pistons. They're they're extreme. I can't wait to go look at them tomorrow, but they were $3,240 for a set of 8 pistons and rings and pins. Wow. Stephen Carter, bench racing at its best. I hope it's better than this. Gen X, baby, big deal. That's right. We get forgotten. Do you know what's sad about being Gen X too? And I'm a little off topic. The young kids will never know what it's like. Like even my son, I could just give you like a small amount of money and you can go eat and have money left. They'll never know that. Like I remember literally my mom and dad gave me $2 to eat for lunch. And there was only a few places you could even eat back then. Taco Bell, I could eat a lot. $2 now won't even get you a drink at Taco Bell. Gen X. Ricky Fawkes, would you recommend an intake runner volume for a 289 street car? Yeah, probably about 165 on the aftermarket side. That's going to be just about right. Nitro Man, when I asked about the Comp 986 springs, it was for a small block Chevy, not an LS. That's enough spring for the Comp 289 XR. I need to tell you guys, stop giving me part numbers. You can tell me the specs on the springs. I have an idea. I don't memorize all this stuff. Please. I would say whenever I set up hydraulic roller springs, typically I'll do like 145 to 165 on the seat, whatever the opening is. So whenever your spring is that. Sorry. Nitro Man, 987, sorry. Wouldn't make a difference. I don't know, 986 versus 987. Oh, dang. Sajay Khan said mall pistons. Molly, however they say it. I just ordered a set for the 400 dyno mule. So the 400 dyno mule that you saw the testing with, I bought a block. It's at Straub being machined right now. Yes, I'm paying him for that. And I bought a set of mall dome pistons. So now it's going to be probably 13.5 to 1. But they're the race mall pistons. Those were not cheap. They're over $1,000 with the pistons and rings, but they're 1 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter ring pack, just like with the small block Ford Cab Challenge it has, except for it's a dome. Those are good. Ricky Fowles, boomers. I'm not saying boomers are bad, but they're not bad. I just wish they would have maybe left the prices down. I'm joking. All of the boomers are my fans anyway. I don't have a problem with them. It's like my mom. She's a boomer. That's the sad thing is she remembers when hamburgers were like 10 cents. So then whenever I was like younger, and they're like, "Look, we get a Happy Meal or we get like a meal for McDonald's for $2.99." To her, this is insane. Now I feel like I'm in that position. Like this is insane. Stephen Carter, Jumbo Jack, 2 tacos, $1.99. LOL. Is that at Jack in the Box, Stephen Carter? If you can't answer that one, please. And I'm asking this for a real reason. If it's still $1.99, because I like Jack in the Box because they serve breakfast all day. David B. Pat something swap meet coming April 24th at Texas Motor Speedway. Looking for another Victor Jr. intake. My last row before leaving, I found I never used new style Victor Jr. for 180. Want an old style one. Early 90s Big Macs for $2. I do remember that. Ricky Fouts. It was a good time. That it was. Guys, about 2 more minutes. We're going to wrap this up. So if you got any more questions, you better spit them out now. I have 89 people watching. This is amazing. Stephen Carter, 2 tacos are still $1.99. And that's at Jack in the Box, Stephen Carter? Or where's it at? That one that's $1.99. Do you regrind cans, Randolph Shaw? No, Daniel Powell does, though. Prices are, David B. Prices are crazy. Property, houses, classic, cars, and used parts. Everything's high. I don't get it. Somebody's making money. I just don't know who it is. It ain't me. Nitro Man, thanks for all you do. I'm taking my old ass to bed. I am not going to bed yet. I think Invincible's season finale is out. And you're like, you watch a cartoon on Amazon? Yes. I'm going to tell you why. My son watches it, so I'm trying to relate with him. So it's really hard finding stuff to talk to your son about, especially when they're 18 or whatever. Since he watches it, I watch it so I can have something to talk about. It's not bad. Let's see. What's the best oil for high performance big block Chevy? That's from Brett Sampson. I use Royal Purple. I try to all the time, but there's nothing wrong with any of them. Optimum performance. Good night, Eric. Good night to you too, Tim. Alex Gerald, AFR big block Chevy dual plane. How it compared to other dual planes? It was better at the peak, worse at the bottom. Ricky Folks, 30-cent gas. I remember paying 63 cents for gas. Hot Rod Ray, I remember McDonald's $5 burgers. LOL, old guy. Christopher C, how much rust is too much on a stock 1980 454 water jacket? I have no idea. Sonic Checker would tell you. Randolph Shaw, if you want to mill heads and intake for me, I would be game. You want to know if you want to pay. Bob, do you have an email in your page description? Yes, I do. It's weingartnerracing@gmail.com. Pontiac 411. We only made about $6 an hour back then. Well, let me tell you. Okay, Buckaroo. Minimum wage went up to like $7.25 or something. Like it couldn't have been like 99 or something. It's the same now. So why is it still everything so expensive? Bob, what state are you in? I'm in Oklahoma. I remember Whoppers on sale for 99 cents. Yeah, they don't do that anymore. I remember whenever they had the Arby's song, it was $5 for $5 around Christmas time. 5 roast beef sandwiches for $5. Now they were like, that's all. I think this last Christmas it was like 5 junior ones, and it was even more, like $7.95 or something. It's stupid, and they're like tiny. Chaps, what are you charging for customers' head flow and reviews these days? It's $40 to flow a head, $40 if you want to review for the video. Stephen Carter, I really appreciate you. Thanks for the years of effort I have witnessed. Thank you. David B. Thanks for doing this. I'm excited I got my answers. Can't wait to save money for some heads. Alex Gerold. Thank you, sir, for the time and answers. You're welcome. Thank you, Eric. Have a good night after the live feed. I guess I have a sidetrack question. Do you watch Cobra Kai? I did the first couple seasons, but I stopped. Um, because that's another thing that's from my childhood. So I'm like, son, let's watch some Cobra Kai. He has no reference for it. So it's like to him, everybody's new. I'm like, no, you see, you got Daniel Russo, he was like the best. And then Tommy, which is he was gonna this is Karate Kid 3, man. He beat him up, really. He could have beat him up, but Russo won. To him, it's like wah wah wah, this is some stranger. So no, it makes no sense. But uh five burgers for $1. Yeah, I would love that. Actually, there's still bag of burgers at Brahms for like six something. They're not cheap though. RC, we're $20 an hour in California. If you make $20 an hour in Oklahoma, you're doing good. Well, I shouldn't say you're doing good. You used to be doing good. Probably like 5 years ago, you're doing great. Now you're just surviving. How many employees do you have, Connie Freeman? I have me. I used to have others, but they had full-time jobs. So I miss my employees. Trent, I miss you. Trent Dugan. Also, get your truck done. And also, Keith, go back to racing. But I miss you too. Anyway, I don't have a problem with my employees there, but they had other jobs. Ricky Fouts, my first job paid $2 an hour. Pontiac 411. It was $4 in the late 80s when I started. David B., any estimate on when the twin turbos will get installed on the blow up 1,000 horsepower stock small block? That was awesome. Daniel Powell is sending me a cam to try one more time on the blow up engine. So we're going to try a different one because he's like, I just got that cam. You just said you just needed one. But it's really not spec'd for that engine. So I want to do this one. And I said, look, buddy, this thing's probably going to end up in multiple pieces. He said, I don't care. So I think we're going to try that first. One of my viewers sent me the blow-off valve and a wastegate, but only one. So I need it somehow time to fab all that up to put the turbos on. Pro Charger or Torque Storm? Sorry, I think Pro Chargers probably can make more power, but I have seen for sure more Pro Chargers fail by far. Negative. How could I tell if a set of 823 LS heads came off a Corvette with Holliston? I have no idea. Steve McCarter, wax on, wax off. Yes, Daniel-san. Do you watch Chopper Scott? I believe I remember him saying he port matched an intake to a set of heads you ported. Yeah, and I actually ported a set of heads for those. I ported an intake for those heads that he sold. It was an M&M tunnel ram that he got rid of, and then he did that one. Nothing wrong with Chopper Scott, but yeah, he did. Dave Crow, why do you focus on seat pressures when springs not open pressure? Also, can heavier springs cause parasitic power loss, hurting power? The reason why you focus on seat pressure, because guess when it bounces off the seat? Yep, at the seat. That's when actually it's floating the valves. It will hit the seat, bounce up. Those bounces are on the seat, so that's why you have seat pressure. If it's over the nose and you have all that pressure, it just causes a lofting. But typically when you float valves, it's bouncing on the seat. It's not just flying around. That would be loft. I mean, it could do that, but still the seat pressure is the reason why I focus on it. Yes, the extra spring pressure probably could cause some parasitic power loss, but valve float will cause even more. Christopher C., you know Brian Weir? I do not. So I hope he's famous. But I also suck with names. So no face is better. Ken Mule, have you ever filled the intake runners on the head that was too big in the intake area to get more velocity on a smaller stroke 3/8 bore size? No. I have filled heads. So don't get that wrong. I have filled heads, but not in the application you're talking about. Okay. I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight because my bottom can't take any more of this. So thanks for tuning in. I'm no Superman. I did race Superboy, and I do not pour cast iron heads. He's one of the main engine core buyers around Oklahoma, Arkansas. You could use it. All right. And I'm done. Oh, gosh. That's painful.